So relaxation is an important part of coping with any anxiety-based condition. And in this video, we'll see where it targets PTSD and what exactly it helps us with, as well as prompting you to consider the ways you might relax. I'm also going to demonstrate the peaceful place. And the peaceful place is a go-to method of trauma therapists the world over to induce relaxation and help with the things that we'd want to when we're suffering from PTSD. So, looking at the Ehlers and Clark model, relaxation targets this area of threat. And depending on how it manifests in you, this could be fear or anxiety or anger, irritability, a desire to withdraw, potentially a desire or urges to take drugs or alcohol, to numb from the pain and emotion that's part of the trauma. And this is strongly associated with hypervigilance, so ongoing and prolonged feelings of being on edge or on guard, being very startle prone, which relates to the system becoming active all the time, not just in circumstances where there are very definite triggers prompting intrusive memories, flashbacks or nightmares. We thought about those emergency situations in my video on grounding exercises. Grounding exercises deals with the immediacy of these emergency symptoms, as it were. Relaxation offers us something which can protect our vulnerability to these symptoms and try and sluice out that agitation and anxiety that we might feel all the time when PTSD is present. Relaxation is also really important in guarding against nightmares. Nightmares are more likely to occur if we carry agitation, that sense of threat, over from the daytime and into our sleep. So, this rather sets us up to have a routine of relaxation before we get ready and go to bed. And indeed, the peaceful place can be used either for this or when we're in bed itself. So introducing or reintroducing relaxation to our daily routine or our weekly routine will guard against or increase or decrease the likelihood of those emergent symptoms, intrusive memories, flashbacks, nightmares, and indeed will reduce our feelings of hypervigilance more generally. So how do we relax? Well, there's hundreds of ways. If you were to Google relaxation exercises or ways to relax, you'd come up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of results. And as opposed to talking through those results, which could be as diverse as listening to calming music, through to a warm bath, which is the recourse of crisis teams the world over, instead of talking through those options, instead I'm going to leave you with a principle, a structure with which to guide how you put in relaxation or reintroduce relaxation. And that principle is to feel genuinely bodily relaxed as you're going about whatever it is where you're trying to relax. Not just feeling calm in the mind, but also calm in the body. That may sound simple, but it's actually quite difficult to do. And a lot of the time, I hear people suggest things which are relaxing for the mind, but not relaxing for the body. The one I hear most often is, well, I crash on the sofa and I watch TV. And that's fine, that's a healthy part of any day where actually we're leisurely taking in information and entertainment. But what's frequently the case with television is it's actually cognitively quite demanding. All the time when we're watching TV, we're processing information, be it character plots or story plots or news articles, whether we're thinking through consequences or motivations. The things that we're actually doing when we're just sat there are actually quite many. So whilst it feels relaxing and calming, we're actually working very hard to stay apace with the information that we're receiving when we're watching television. And often in busy lives, it's actually quite difficult to reserve the time where actually we commit to something that relaxes us from the body as well as the mind. This might be especially so with trauma, because there might be barriers which actually have less relaxation a very difficult thing to do. Very frequently I hear people say, I can't relax anymore because I feel unsafe. If this is the case for you, I suggest you pay attention to the peaceful place, try it out, see if it works for you. And I will also be releasing other videos which might help with this too. So the peaceful place works because the brain can't tell the difference between an image it pictures, one which we imagine, and one which is actually there. So we can use this with the peaceful place in imagining somewhere that's calming for us. And if we imagine somewhere that's calming for us, this comes to inform the parts of the brain that are agitated, and we believe ourselves to be there. Relaxation flowing from exactly that process. Now, it's essential when we practice the peaceful place that we are actually in a safe environment. So we need to ensure that the doors are locked and the windows are locked and that we're not going to be disturbed by other people while we're doing it. We might need the spare bedroom of the house or something like that. Often, feeling safe for people with trauma is difficult as well. And we might need to problem solve in order to try and get to what feels like the safest possible place here. That might be a reframing that helps us. It could be that if we fear a dissociative episode or going into flashback really badly, we might have to set an alarm on our phone for 20 minutes time or 15 minutes time, or have a roommate or a member of a family check up upon us after that time. Potentially they could call in through our phones if that's what we feel would contain some of the risk that might be there if we fear falling into a re-experiencing episode. Sometimes it's also helpful to have whatever place we're practicing the peaceful place in, to have things which comfort us as well, such as a blanket or a cushion or a pillow or a plush toy, and even potentially a faithful dog. If we feel safe with those things around, if they improve our chances of being able to relax, then they're very much well worth preparing to do this with them. And naturally, for this exercise, we are also going to have to imagine, to conceive of, to be able to think of a peaceful place. And this can be as broad or fantastical as you wish for. So, people frequently choose places that they know, or maybe places that they've been to on holiday, places they used to visit as a child, places in the house where they feel particularly relaxed. Equally so, it can be scenes that we create for ourselves. And if that is the case, I would challenge you to consider, in what environment do you feel most comfortable, or would you feel most comfortable? Is that a log cabin in the forest somewhere? Is that a forest scene without a cabin? Is that the beach? Is that rolling fields? Is that the mountainside where you can see for miles beyond? These are the landscapes, the backdrops, and once we have those, we can furnish what we're seeing, what we're imagining, in as many ways as possible. Maybe there are trees, maybe there are objects, maybe there are animals, maybe we're there with loved ones, maybe we're not. Whatever it takes us to get to that peaceful place, we can imagine. It's not the content of the peaceful place, it's that we're hoping to make ourselves feel safe enough that relaxation flows from it. If this takes you into the utterly fantastical, don't be ashamed about this. That's absolutely fine, and maybe that's exactly what you need in order to be able to relax. So maybe you need a concrete bunker to which you only have the key. Case steel panic room is exactly what some people need. Equally, we can have mystical and fantastic places, underground kingdoms, underwater kingdoms, our own planets, our own spaceships. Whatever it requires, whatever would take you to feel safe, then use this as your peaceful place. It's also important to remember how emotions can sometimes be really contradictory. So in the self-same way that there's nothing worse for the anxious person for somebody else to say, just relax, stop worrying, this is the case too with the peaceful place. Don't be there thinking to yourself, I've got to relax, I've got to relax, I've got to relax. Just put yourself in the peaceful place. The rest should follow. And that requires us to notice what thoughts might be distracting, any judgments on the process, maybe I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't need to do this, or I'm not doing it right. And if those thoughts come about, just notice them, hold them, don't attach to them, and take yourself back to the peaceful place. Remind you of where you are. Come to see again the things around you and the place that you've put yourself into. This and distractions are a perfectly normal part of trying to visualise anything. So don't be deterred by them, just instead see them as a natural part of the process and, as I say, take yourself back to reminding yourself and placing yourself once again in your peaceful place. I'm going to begin the peaceful place with a breathing exercise. Whilst for most people this is a relaxing thing to do to start off with, for some people breathing will have been an important part in the trauma. If this is you, then I would suggest that you skip this bit. The breathing exercise will be 2 or 3 minutes, and pick up the text, pick up the script, where actually we get into the peaceful place itself. Naturally, we're trying to relax, and if the breathing is reminding you, if the breathing is triggering you to flashback or remembrances of the trauma, this is something to avoid. If you need something to get into the peaceful place, to introduce yourself more gradually to it, you might try a body scan exercise, which is largely available if you Google simply body scan or body scan script. Or you could engage by whatever other tool of relaxation you're using before then picturing the peaceful place. Also, before we do the peaceful place, I'll ask you to find something, a prompt, nothing too sentimental, something neutral like a semi-precious stone or a keyring or a trinket of some kind. I'll ask you to hold it in your hand as we're doing this peaceful place exercise. The reason I'm suggesting that is because our memory frequently works by association. So if we hold something whilst we're doing the peaceful place, we'll come to associate it with the feelings of relaxation that hopefully we'll be giving ourselves. And by doing that, we then have a grounding prompt. And see my video on grounding for how we use that. But we actually can use this object, this thing we've found, to help ourselves as we go about our daily business. So hopefully we've got this prompt, we've got this object to remind us of this exercise. we're in a situation where we are actually safe in our environment. No one's going to do relaxation in a war zone, as it were, where there's lots of agitation around us. And hopefully we have an idea of a peaceful place that we're going to use. If we've got all these things in place, we're pretty much ready to begin. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the camera and put prompts up just next to the sound of my voice as I talk us through a script for this peaceful place. I hope this is going to be helpful for you, and enjoy.